This Sunday, the Orthodox Church commemorates the dialogue that took place between Jesus and a Samaritan woman at the well of Jacob, just outside of Sychar, a city of Samaria. Chronologically, this event took place before the miracle of the paralytic at Bethesda. Just a few days ago, we celebrated the feast of Mid-Pentecost, where Jesus was revealed to be the Messiah and was heard saying, "If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink." So because the dialogue between Jesus and the Samaritan woman shows that Jesus is the Messiah, and because the theme of thirst and water re-emerges in this gospel reading, the church celebrates this event on the fifth Sunday after Easter. The Samaritans were a very particular people. The original owners of Samaria were the Israelites. Their forefather Jacob had settled there, dug a well that he gifted to his son Joseph. Many centuries later, during the reign of King Pekah, the Israelites lost their way and started worshiping idols. For this reason, God's grace abandoned them, and their king was conquered by Tiglath-Pileser, the Assyrian king, who placed Hosea on the throne. This puppet king did not fare any better because he rebelled against his overlord and was put down by King Shalmaneser. As punishment, the Israelites were deported to Assyria. They were replaced by the Chaldean settlers loyal to the Assyrian king. Miraculously, these new settlers were constantly attacked by lions. Shalmaneser was astonished by this and inquired what this meant. The deported Israelites told him that it was because they did not know the ways of the Lord God. A Jewish priest was then sent to them. He taught them the law of God. These believed. However, they only accepted the Pentateuch, that is the first 5 books of the Bible written by Moses, and they also worshipped their own gods. It was only later that they fully rejected their own gods and accepted the worship of the Lord. These folks, because they settled near Mount Somor, became the Samaritans. Abraham, the forefather of the Jewish people, was originally from Chaldea. That was why the Samaritans claimed that they too were descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Jews, on the other hand, despised them and refused to acknowledge them because they were direct descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to whom these lands were promised. That land was their inheritance. That was also why some of the Jews accused Jesus of being a Samaritan. They insisted that he, the one that gave the law to Moses, violated Mosaic law. So, during his Passover visit in Jerusalem, Jesus was rejected and persecuted by the authorities and the people that were there for the Paschal celebrations. Broken-hearted, he left and went to Samaria. It was at the well of Jacob, just outside the city called Sychar, that our story takes place. At around noon, Jesus arrived at the well. He lived an ascetic and nomadic life. He spent a lot of time on mountains and in the desert. In his journeys, he did not have a beast of burden to carry him from place to place. He walked wherever he needed to go. He also did not take any provisions with him. This ascetic way of life he also shared with his disciples. That is why he sent them to procure provisions from the city at the time when everyone was having their lunch, and not bright and early as others would have done. He, being weary from the travel and the heat of noonday, sat down to rest at the well. Yet his visit at the well of Jacob was premeditated. You see, God himself, when the time is right, goes and seeks out his thirsting creatures. He says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him and dine with him and he with me." In this case, the person he was seeking out was a Samaritan woman who soon after his arrival at the well came to draw water. She was a woman scorned by the others, and that was why she had to go in the middle of the heat to draw water and not early in the morning with the other women. It was for this woman that Jesus was waiting at the well. Jesus begins by striking a conversation with her. She wondered why a man and a Jew would want something from her, a woman and a Samaritan. He used this opportunity to pass from visible things to invisible ones. He revealed his identity as the Messiah and told her he had a special kind of water for her if she wanted it. The woman pointed out that Jesus didn't even have the tools to give her water from the present well. How could he possibly give her living water? Was he perhaps greater than Jacob who drank from this well? The type of water Jesus proposed to her was of a different nature than the one they were standing in front of. The water at hand was temporary. The living water he was offering was everlasting. However, this water is not for the ones that can't discern what it is and that find themselves in the lull of sinful and careless life. For this reason, after she requested to partake of the living water, Jesus didn't concur but asked her to bring her husband. She replied that she had no husband, and here, once again, Jesus proves his identity of Messiah. He told her that she's not lying. She had 5 husbands, and the one she was now living with was not her husband. The Samaritan woman understood that Jesus wasn't an ordinary man. She too began a discussion in regards to where God was to be worshipped. He told her that the time will come that where we worship would no longer matter, but how we worship would. God is spirit, and his followers would have to worship him in spirit and truth. Finally, she begins to understand that Jesus was the one she was waiting for, the Christ. And he told her that the one she was conversing with was the one she was waiting for, the Anointed One of God. As the conversation was ending, the disciples also arrived at the well with the provisions they brought from the city. The woman left everything she was carrying at the well and ran to the city to proclaim to the Samaritans that she just may have found the one they were waiting for. Many believed her, and when they actually met Jesus, they believed in him because of the things he taught them. He stayed with them for 2 days and then went to Galilee, where the Galileans also received his teaching and believed in him. There are a lot of meanings and explanations regarding this gospel reading. There is an allegorical meaning to the story of the Samaritan woman. We are worse than the Samaritan woman because we live our life trying to quench our thirst by indulging in the gratification of every desire, whether it is monetary gain, lust, gluttony, or any other hidden desire that racks our soul. One thing remains constant. If we lead this type of lifestyle, we are sure to remain thirsty. The water that Jesus offers us is divine grace. Once we realize that true happiness is not the fulfillment of our passions, but to obtain communion with God, then this thirst subsides because God gives us the water of life, divine grace. Once we become conscious of our fallen state and repent of our sinful life, we get a taste of this water which fills us, energizes, and gives us the strength to do things that were originally impossible to us. And more importantly, this living water that we partake of, we want to share it with all the people that surround us. The Samaritan woman became a saint in the Orthodox Church. She was called Photini, and she was baptized along with her 2 sons, Joseph and Victor, whose name was changed to Photinos by Christ himself because he preached and brought many people to Christianity. Her 5 sisters Anatoly, Photo, Photida, Paraskevi, and Kyriaki were also baptized. All of them followed the apostles and preached with them. They suffered martyrdom along with Theocritus, the former magician, and Sebastian the commander during the reign of Nero, the Roman emperor. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share with your friends.